are moving into our panel section, and I'm excited to introduce these amazing female entrepreneurs. One of the things that, as I was building this conference out, it was really important to me that we talk about the power of women who have started their own business and hung their own shingle. And maybe they, in their different stories, maybe they're doing it full time, or maybe they're working full time and doing it part time. But I wanted to have you all walk away with inspiration for women who have started their own business. Then we're going to move into finances, because this is an area, and Brooks can attest to this because I talked to her about it quite a bit, where women have come a long way in this, but I think there's a lot more we can do to own our confidence when it comes to money. So that's why these are all paired together this afternoon. So with that, let me introduce fabulous panel, and Erin Tonda. Erin is our photographer extraordinaire. She's also a lawyer by day, photographer, whenever.
Everybody wants to know one of those.
And we met several years ago too in another lifetime. But so Erin Tonda here, and Dawn Renshaw, which you've heard of several times, Stony Creek Social Media, Nagam, you heard from this morning, Karen Kiefer-Fisher, Karen Kiefer 5-Star Real Estate, and Sam Duluth from Divot Design Marketing. So, welcome, ladies. Yay. All right, so how I host panels, there's 2 mics and 5 of you, so you get to arm wrestle for them. Okay, tough crowd, I know we're tired. Okay, so I'll call your name before I ask the question, so you don't have to worry about stepping all over each other. So, Erin, I'm gonna start with you. How did you decide that you were going to hang your own shingle? Where did that start? Yeah, a little bit of, there you go.
I don't use these. Can everybody hear me?
You talk, like, put it in, like, really get it.
Hello? No? Can you hear me? Yeah, you got me? Okay, got you. Sorry. I couldn't hear myself, and so I was like, clearly they can't hear me. What made me decide to hang my own shingle? That's a really great question. I was in a stage of corporate burnout and really just wanted to do something, lean into a different side of myself. And I have anxiety that may or may not show up today for me while I'm speaking. Thank you, Tony, for the invitation. But one of the things that my physician said is, if you can find something to do with your hands, that will help with your anxiety. And I was like, you know what? I like to take pictures. So let's pick up our camera and start doing that. And as I kind of was healing my own anxiety or working with my own anxiety, I thought, you know what? I could actually make some money doing this. So why don't I give it a whirl? So that was my short and sweet journey.
Okay, Dawn, same question.
Mine was somewhat out of a necessity. I went through a nasty divorce, and I was a stay-at-home mom with 3 small children and a son with autism. So I didn't want my children to go to daycare. They already had the shock of the parents getting divorced, and then my son was a very violent autistic child, and so it was something that I wasn't really looking. So I opened a daycare at that point, and in the last 30 years, I've had one business or another. So I started with a daycare, then I went to mortgage processing, and then I was an insurance agent, and then I wound up in a situation where I was between opportunities, and someone approached me about social media marketing, and that was 17 years ago.
Yeah, always an entrepreneur. Nagam? From school principal to business owner.
Yeah, which is like the aspect of just owning a business is really scary, and I never saw myself actually doing this. But I took people pushing me, telling me that I could actually be helping others. I could, I love service and I love giving, and I could be doing this more. And what really pushed me to do this was being a school principal. I love to train and coach and mentor, and I was trying to do that. However, all of the things that I was doing, they were bound by policy and red tape and things that I couldn't do because I had other things that were not allowed, blah, blah, blah. And I just didn't believe in that. I mean, if I'm here on this earth, meant to do something, if I have a purpose to help, then I have to find a way to do it. And that was my way of founding MCAN Leadership Development to try to, help others. When I started, did I know where it was going? Absolutely no idea. But I started anyway.
Yeah. Carrie?
Okay, does that work? I am, like all of you, a super achiever and love producing, and found myself in my 20s and 30s putting all of my efforts working for somebody else, and then they decided to sell the company that I worked my tail off to create. That's how I met Tony. And I came across this seminar that was happening. I called my girlfriend, my partner in crime, and said, Lori, let's go to this class to learn about real estate investing. And we did. And so that's where it started. I realized I loved real estate and decided when my daughter graduated from high school, I was going to start a real estate team. And so it's kind of out of a found love that I didn't even realize I knew I had.
And finally, Sam.
Yeah, so my dad had a pharmacy growing up, and so I've always just seen business owners in my family. I was like, that's really cool. So once I graduated with a design degree, I was like, oh, let's work for a studio and like see how that goes. And then, the pay gap and then quality. I was like, okay, I'm doing double the work of someone in another studio in our other location that just got hired, and he's getting paid, I think, like 10 grand more than me. I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna quit. So I did. And then she goes, you'll make a great assistant to somebody. And I said, oh, okay. And for lack of a better term, fuck that. So,
Yes.
so basically, I started my own business, and 7 years later, I rebranded to Dip It because I love golf, and here we are.
Yeah, keep the mic, 'cause I'm gonna boomerang back this way now. So Sam, how did you push through the fear? Because one of the hardest parts about being an entrepreneur is the unknown and the uncertainty. Because for those of us that have worked in and out of corporate America or jobs where you have a steady paycheck, there's certainty with that, and there's benefits beyond just healthcare and things of that nature. So how did you push through the fear?
Well, actually, I just recently kind of restructured my entire business model. You kind of got insight into that the other day. So I started doing creative partnerships instead of more of like a freelance style. So basically, I just kind of put parameters because income was so up and down, and just some clients wouldn't pay for a month, and I'm like, okay.
Not this
I don't
client.
know. You are.
This client.
Gosh, if I could just replicate you. Like,
I pay right away.
yeah, that's great. So yeah, basically it's just a matter of like putting in a system that works. So now I have retainers that have predictable income and just kind of putting a system in place, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig into that a little bit. So where did you get help to know where did you learn about that model you built? Was it from your?
I basically was like, how can I make this sustainable and predictable? Because even with like my financial advisor, she's like, it's hard to budget when you don't know when your next paycheck is. And it's like, okay, so we're just gonna set this aside, and
And
it took
how,
some learning.
with that change, how has business shifted already, or is it a work in progress?
Yeah, so I actually have savings now, so
Okay.
so that's fun, and I've just been really focused on investing in my brand and just kind of expanding. You inspired me recently. I did Dry January for the first time,
Oh.
and I think it was like 16 years. So that was cool. But yeah, so.
Very cool. Okay, Carrie, same question for you. You started real estate and you were kind of interested in it, and so you're taking interest, and then you said, and then I'm good at it. So you're passionate about it. So and you waited till Ariel was graduating from high school, correct? When all this was happening.
Well, so Lori, my daughter she was, 10 or something. And so when we started buying investment properties, of course, this wasn't because we had stash piles of money, because I worked for other people. So we just kind of figured out how to do it. But the fear, having an accountability person, right? Like, we had each other. So that made a huge difference. And then it was, going into the real estate brokerage side when I realized how much I loved real estate, going to, you know, you're getting money and all of a sudden you're 100% commission. But when you're a mom and you're, you know, a single mom, it's like, okay, you do whatever it takes, right? You figure out a way. And the fear of not being able to provide for your kid is bigger than the fear of calling and seeing how you can help people. So that fear, you know, didn't matter.
Nagam, how about for you? How do you continue to push through the fear of the uncertainty? Because it's hard to pipeline a speaking and coaching business.
Yeah, and the truth is, I still have my 9 to 5. I scaled down on those hours, yes, but I still have that. I'm one of those people where I look at big picture and I measure things and I see, okay, am I ready for this? Is it something that I'm gonna do the whole way? What are the consequences of this? But when I started 2.5 years ago, it was just an idea. And just 2 months in, when someone actually signed up to be, to work with me, and I coached them, and it was $600, but after 2 months of starting, I'm like, actually, somebody wants to do this, and this is worth my, the work I'm doing. That's when it felt like, okay, this is real. I've got to put more effort into this, and I got to, this is the real deal. And the thing that I feel most as I'm doing this work, it doesn't matter how long I stay up and do this work and how long I travel. I absolutely love doing this. And that's what really fuels everything and keeps, and this is the dream, not the 9 to 5, not somebody else's, pile of money, but, other people's success, because essentially that's what I work on.
So Dawn, you've been like a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, I look back and it's probably been over 35 years.
Yeah.
Like I said, so I had a business when I was married. I addressed wedding invitations, printed the calligraphy. I didn't write because I'm not that talented, but and I started out that, and then like I said, I went through a divorce, and I just knew, because like I said, even when my son was in school, sometimes he would be there for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, some all day. And I just knew that I couldn't have a 9 to 5 job where I would go to work and say, hey, I have to leave. My son's, freaking out at school. And it was just that drive as a mama bear to want to protect my kids from the lifestyle that they had, where mom was always there. And, mom was there for the Valentine's Day party and those types of things. That was just something that was really important to me, is to be there for my kids. And if working all day and working all night was what I needed to do. And so when I started when I went through that period of not having a job, I was living in Grand Rapids, and I had a family emergency and I had to come back to Coldwater, and there wasn't room for my agency there. So for the first time since I was like 12, I didn't have a job, and it was like 2008, 2009, so we all know how that was. And so when I went into Michigan work first, they were like, I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, I am going crazy. And they're like, how long have you been laid off? I'm like, 2 days. And that's it. And I was like, they're like, oh, we have people 2 years. So I had dinner with friends here in Kalamazoo, and they had bought a house like 10 years prior to that. And they just had someone come in and paint all the walls white. They didn't do anything. So for 1 year, they hired me to completely redo their house, paint, landscaping, carpet, everything. And so he owned a website company, so he had went to a conference that talked about social media, and he came back and he's like, you need to do the social media thing, and the rest is history. But it was just out of a sheer. So when I had I was redoing their house, I also had a cleaning business. So and so when I started the marketing thing, so I was doing like the concierge and cleaning houses all day, and then doing the marketing all night, and I had 3 kids, and I was a single parent, and so it was just out of pure wanting to provide for my kids. Like Carrie said, it's like that instinct in you. When you become a single parent, you're like, I have to provide for them, and so it was just something that. And then again, like she loves real estate. It's like being able to help people watch their businesses grow, and watching things happen is really what fuels my desire to want to keep doing what I do. But JR and I had lunch, and there's days that were like, Own a business, it'll be fun, they said. But again, the thought of working 40 hours for somebody else and building their dream doesn't sound fun either.
Right, exactly. Now, Erin, your story recently, so I don't want to have you can talk about this because you're a lawyer and then you're an entrepreneur and now you're back to law and entrepreneur. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, I think the universe puts you in places that you need to be. I'm a big believer in that. Call it woo-woo, call it whatever. You make your own destiny, but also somebody's got your back. And for me, it's the universe. So essentially, I was sharing earlier that I left corporate world because, and making somebody else just a ton of money, and I'd risen all the way up to the higher ranks, and you think, was it Brandy that was talking about, you've got the titles and you got all this, and you're like, why do I think everything sucks? And that's kind of where I was. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to take about 6 months. I just said, you know what, I'm just not doing this anymore. So walked away. Turning 50 had something to do with it too, where you're just like, I have this amount of bucks to give left, and I'm not going to spend them here doing this. And so was lucky enough to take about 6 months off and was really working intentionally about building my photography business, and everything was going great. And I saw lots of good things ahead for me. And then universe, dear friend of mine who owns a small firm, reached out to me because he knew I wasn't working anymore, and was like, hey, I want to build this division at my office to do this very specific thing, and I think you're perfect. And I was like, well, yeah, and what's in it for me? Like, what are we talking about here? And so we sat down over the past, few weeks actually, and he talked to me all about what his vision was and how he envisioned me fitting into that role. And I thought, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
So I take it and I hate it. Well, see ya. I've got this other, side gig. And if I could also piggyback on the fear question, is simply ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? List all the awful, terrible things that your brain comes up with, and I promise you it's not as bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about your first clients. I want to go there. I was thinking about where I want to go next. So, Sam, I'm going to start with you. What was your first client's name?
Toby. No,
Well, cool.
Actually, so it's my friend Bobby, and he still lives in town, so it was funny because he was like, we should get drinks today. I'm like, it's a long day, don't count on it. But yeah, he works for his dad's company. It's Forming Glass in town. So yeah, I did their branding, their website, and he just reached out recently too for a refresh because that was, I think, like 7 years ago now. So 2018. That's not my strong suit, but
Yeah. So so Bobby, your first client, were you charging your value at that time, or were you undercharging?
that was the first where I actually full on was like, let's go. I was like,
Okay.
let's see. It bought me a new laptop. I was like, all right, thanks. I just basically funded my entire business in one sale. I was like, that's
So what gave you the confidence to do that, and how did you know how to value your services?
I think a lot of it comes from just, I don't even know. It came to me, and I was like, I would rather work for myself than work for someone else because I just haven't had the best experiences working for other people, and I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not me? So,
Dawn, when you were starting your social media business, Stony Creek, were you charging your value, or were you underselling it to get clients?
It was really difficult for me because I didn't know somebody else that was in, you have to remember, this is 17 years ago when I talked about social media. It was funny because you said, do I know my first client? And I do.
Who was it?
Susan Dennis.
Oh, okay.
I was at the Women's Expo, and she came up and she's like, can I have your card? And then she called me and was like, yep, let's do it. So yeah. So I really didn't know what to charge. So I was doing it kind of like on an hour. I figured out how many hours it would take. And so, yeah, I think at that time it was fair.
Okay, good. I'm gonna ask Carrie, how about you? Were you, and your business is a little different because of the percentages and commissions. Were you charging you the correct value for what you were providing?
I'm worth so much more, Tony.
I know, you are. I know, and I love it, 'cause my dad was like, hey, Carrie, he tries to negotiate with her, I'm like, Dad, knock it off. Just literally just.
I love your dad.
I know, he's so sweet.
But this is the dad that also told me all the discounts he always gets.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, in the real estate investment side of things, I don't even know. But the real estate, when I got my real estate license, my cousin, who's here with me, because these are all my besties in my family too, was my first client. And then she also, when I started my real estate team, she was one of the first people on the team. So support
Yes.
from your people, right? Support from your
And
family.
she's on House Hunters.
She's amazing, and she wore flip-flops on House Hunters,
Yeah.
in case you want to know.
Badass.
She doesn't need heels, she doesn't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah,
Love
true
it.
story. Anyone watch House Hunters? Yes, yes. Josh and I love it. Naga, what about you? Were you charging your fair value for what your value was?
You guys heard the number. Like, serious, is that fair value for a coaching
No.
salon? I had absolutely no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to charge. And not just that, but I mean, I coached this person, and she was very happy that she gave me an amazing review. Not only that, but she signed up for other services, later on. But I had no idea what I was doing. I know that I wanted to develop leadership in people. Even the idea of resilience didn't come until later, after I saw, I just worked with this individual, and I was watching the recording of all of our sessions. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working with this person. I'm helping her. You know what I was doing? I was helping her build her business 2 months in starting my business. And it was ridiculous because what do I know? I'm just getting started. But while I was doing this, I was helping her build her leadership, her confidence, and her resilience. And while I was rewatching this and learning from this, and new ideas came up and more things came up in mind, that actually started a speaking club. And it's called the Resilient Speakers Club, where I help others build their confidence, find their confidence so that they can, not just speak on stages, but also find confidence to just speak up, to talk, to say what they, what they want, to be vulnerable and be okay with it. But was I charging enough? Absolutely not. And I had to, watch YouTube videos and go to other people. And I did end up hiring a coach myself. That actually helped me figure out what to price and what to do, because every coach needs a coach still. It doesn't matter how well versed you are in what you do, you still need that support. And I think everyone pretty much talked about that here, that we need that support, and that coach is the person that kind of helped me figure out my value. And it's still in the work, because in every phase in my life and everyone else's life as well, you develop, you become better, you grow. Then you better start pricing up, because there's more value to be added.
Absolutely. Erin?
No, I did not charge my worth when I first started, but I learned very, very quickly that you attract based on your pricing.
Mm.
So if you're charging less than the photographer down the road because you want to get more business or more clients, then you're going to get clients that perhaps wouldn't be your ideal client. And to me, I had to make a decision on whether or not it was worth it to me to get the business or get the right business.
So the next question's for all of you, and I'll start right there and I'll go down the line. What has been your most successful visibility tool to grow your business? So thinking about anything from being on podcasts, websites, email blasts, networking, there's no wrong answer. So if you could, the number one for you,
Networking.
Dawn?
I'm really going to ask you that one. Social media.
Yes, I was going to ask, Naga.
Speaking on stages.
I would say just networking with people I know.
Yeah, I've actually ironically never done marketing for myself. So yeah, referrals are the best.
That is ironic.
Yeah. Yep.
That is ironic. Okay, keep the mic. Sam, and then we'll go back down this way. What is one of the biggest mistakes you've made?
Oh. Oh man. I would say just kind of letting clients that don't pay on time like get away with it kind of thing. I recently just fired someone. So that was some tough boundary work right there. Basically.
So how did that conversation go, or was it an email?
It was an email.
ChatGPT, don't you?
Yeah, it was either that or I just sounded like the biggest bitch. I was like, Chat, please make this sound nice and professional. I was like, I'm losing it. But
No, it's good. I think AI is a great tool. So I know it's polarizing, but it's a tool.
Yes, it's a tool. But yeah, so basically, after she was like, well, did I do something wrong? I'm like, this is out of the last 4 months, last 4 invoices, this is your 3rd late one, and it's over a month late. I was like, this isn't personal, it's business. So it was just a matter of being like, and her response was, I just have so many emails, and every time you send me a reminder, it goes to the top. So then you're last on my list. I'm like, that is so disrespectful. Like, what? You have a team, handle it. Have someone else pay it. So.
Was it how did you feel once it was done? Did you feel empowered by it?
I did. It felt like a huge relief. And then after, I was like, oh shit. I was like, did I just lose a big portion of income? And then I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm trying to find golf clients. And so that actually set the momentum to start cold outreaching for the first time. And that, not the best approach. It's not really working, but.
Cold is, they call it cold for a reason.
Very
But
cold, yeah.
that's a part of the conversation, so I'm glad you're offering that up. Carrie, biggest mistake or a mistake you want to talk about or share that people can learn from?
I really don't know. I think honestly, there's mistakes all the time. And I think some of my bigger mistakes that just constantly still happen is I don't delegate enough and I don't put my own self and my own health as a priority above and as high as I should.
Yeah, absolutely. Nagam?
There are many, a lot I can think of, but I think 2 are the ones that come to mind when you ask this question. One was not thinking of myself as a salesperson and not actually learning that skill at the beginning of my journey, because I thought, I'm just gonna, build it and they'll come. There's no such thing, you've got to go out there and do the thing. And then the other one was taking a long time to negotiate and renegotiate with the wrong client who's obviously not going to pay you your worth. You're just wasting your time, and I learned that the hard way. And then they come back, even after they decline. The price is too high, and we do all this, song and dance. And 10 months, go by, and I don't hear from them. They come back, and they want to do it again. Oh, I need this, and I need this service, and my price just went up by 50%. And it's still, we go through the same thing. And my mistake was, why am I negotiating with the same person? We've had this before. I should have learned and moved on to someone who's actually knows my worth and the worth of the value that they're getting out of my service.
Dawn?
One of the things that I struggle with is wanting to help my friends and my family and people, acquaintances and people that I barely know. They're like, hey, I need a good deal. And I read something not too long ago, and it says your friends and your family should be so excited to do business with you, they should pay double. Because they know you, they know that you are that you're worth it. I'm just joking about the double part of it, but but when they come to you and they're like, hey, can I have a discount? Hey, it really, to me, it kind of reflects like, is this really what I should be doing with my time? When I have clients that are willing to pay full price, and so now it's just Nazim said, it's like one of those things where you're like, okay, this is my price, and then you're just quiet. And when they're like, wow, that's a lot of money, and it's like, well, it's a lot of work. And so just knowing, but for a long time, somebody would come to me and like, hey, can you help me? Oh, sure, I can do it for this, or oh yeah, I'll throw this in here, and just realizing that the people that come to you that want the discounts, it's just not worth
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely.
Well, I kind of alluded to this earlier. Is if you're charging too low, you're attracting the wrong people. And much like what Dawn shared, I think my biggest mistake was wanting to work with a particular individual and being okay with whatever it was that she could pay me, and then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then I just had to take a step back and be like, we are not a good fit for each other. Here's your money back, and you can find a different photographer.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna ask one more question, and then I'm gonna open it up to the room, and we'll share one mic up here, and then maybe my beautiful husband can run the mic. What do you think? Handsome, not beautiful, sorry, yeah, thank you. Okay, so for the women in the room.
Make sure you give a discount.
Now, you don't have to buy 3 of my books. For the women in the room who have interest in starting a business but haven't yet, what advice would you give? What's the first step that you would give in the first 30 days? So 30 days from now, what's one thing you would say, do this in the next 30 days? And I'll let you decide who's ready to answer, can throw their hand up, and yeah, go ahead, Dawn, take the.
I'm sorry.
One thing because I started the business and I thought it was just going to be me. I thought it was going to be a hobby. I didn't realize it was going to be a business. And so even like 5 or 6 years into it, when I started hiring employees, it's like all the pertinent information was right here. And so it's like I kind of had to get it out of my brain onto paper. And here I am 17 years later, still like some things are still up here. They're on my computer So what I would do in the first 30 days is really set up the structure, set up your business that it would run without you. So have all the policies, all the procedures, all the steps, everything that you do on paper or on a computer, digital, however you do it. Because doing it like 15 years later is not fun. But,
Yeah.
I would jump in and say, find somebody that's doing what you want to do in another area and go get in front of them and have lunch with them as fast as you possibly can and start modeling everything that they do.
Great.
I would say, well, it's kind of a two-part. First, I would get an LLC and then a business bank account, but you need an LLC for the bank account. But then, when you start making money, you have your personal and your business separate, and so you're not commingling and that's putting up taxes.
Yes, absolutely.
Brooks is over there going, yeah.
Naga?
Well, I kind of like both of these. I agree with start the LLC because it makes it real. It's your thing, okay? And then the system-wise, I love using something called Notion. It made my life so much easier. I started using it back in college, and it started out as a note taker. But it turned into so many more things, which really helped me put everything together. Everything that I do in my business is there, it records my meetings, everything, right? But before any of this, if you have an idea, start. Don't wait. I think that's the biggest thing for anyone out there is don't wait to feel ready because readiness is not a feeling. It's a thing you got to do. You got to get out there and actually do.
Absolutely. All right, who has a question? All right, Josh will bring it over to Sandra, and she will lead us off.
Hi ladies, thank you for sharing your insights. What I'm curious to know is, obviously as entrepreneurs, you're going to be working in your business when you're with your clients, but you also have to work on your business for advertising, your processes like Dawn just talked about. So what would you guys say roughly of the time you have in your week? How much of that time do you spend working in your business versus on your business?
Who wants to take that?
Excellent question.
I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Either.
I didn't turn it on. Just, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I try to block out one day a week, and the time blocking like Tony talked about, and I try to do that one day that's working in my business, and then next week I'm taking an entire week and renting a house in South Haven, and so that entire week is going to be working on my business.
Carrie?
I would say something similar from the perspective of it's usually Sundays I'm prepping for the week, and then it's at the beginning of the month or end of the month I'm prepping for the next month, and then starting in a year, and then it's you know, once you have a staff of people, then it's getting good at delegating, so that a lot of those things that have to be done on the business, you're just meeting with then your staff every week and making sure everything's happening.
Somebody who is not as seasoned as these wonderful ladies out here, I'll tell you that when you first start, it's mostly you're working on your getting things done most of the time, and then it gets easier as you start having team members, you delegate, and then automation is my best friend. Absolutely. One of the systems I use is Go High Level. And it does a lot of automation for me, and which helps save a lot of time. So I love technology, and this is what I use it for. And if you don't have a team, if you're starting out without a team, that would be your best friend. Finding the tools that'll help you, having more time to actually work with your clients rather than just developing the business.
Another question.
If you guys could have started your businesses or started working for yourself earlier in age rather than working for someone else, would you have done that? Or is there an age that's too early?
Great question.
I'll take that one. No, there's not an age that's too early. If there's something that you're passionate about that you want to bring into the world, just start. Doesn't mean you have to leave the job that's paying your bills right now. It just means you're starting on something. So, no.
Yeah, because people were asking me, because at one point I had both the concierge, the cleaning business, and the marketing, and people are like, how did you get everything done? And it really becomes like a determination. So I know a lot of people who have started businesses where they're working the 9 to 5, 9 to 5, and then from 5 until midnight, they are working the second, their own business until they flip flop where they have enough revenue. But yeah, it's actually, especially, and I can say this as a woman, that you're never going to get paid what you're worth unless you're working for yourself.
Yeah, there is no age. It's if you got a passion, just go ahead and get started. But I'll tell you, the difference maybe is in your own mindset from a younger person to an older person. And I can speak for myself. And I still am very, very stubborn. A lot of people told me, start on a niche, do this, do that. I'm like, nope, got to try it for myself. I'm sorry. I love you. I value what you're telling me, but I have to try it for myself. I like failure because I like to collect data for me to see what works for me, for Nagam, and not anyone else. And it's going to be totally different than somebody else in the room.
I guess I'll just
Oh, go
answer
ahead,
that real
Mary.
quickly to say that every season of my life I feel like has helped me and created who I am to be able to do what I do. So, it's kind of like you just, at whatever point you see an idea and you want to run with it, try it, but just realize that might not be what you're doing in 20 years from now. It might change entirely.
Absolutely.
One more question. All right, a round of applause for our fabulous panelists. Thank you, ladies. All right, now I'm going to give away the basket. There's a drawing here at Kalamazoo as a friend of ours here at Kalamazoo.